This is what he's announcing today. He has said that the reciprocal tariff, this is Scott Bessent who announced it, the reciprocal tariff on China, where we jacked ours up to 125 and then they jacked theirs up on us to 125 for all goods, is now going to 10%.
I can't believe what I'm seeing. Megyn Kelly just dropped an absolute bombshell, and if you care about fashion, or even just how the world works behind the scenes, you need to sit down for this. Because according to her, one of the most elite, glitzy, powerful events in America was just hijacked, and not by protesters or scandal. No, Kelly is pointing the finger at Chinese manufacturers, saying they're the ones who allegedly pulled the rug out from under New York fashion. Weak, not just a few shipments delayed. Not just a couple missing shoes or wrong-colored dresses. A full-on calculated disruption that brought the entire machine to a screeching halt.
U.S. said the reductions will last for 90 days while the talks continue. So it's higher. We're definitely charging more for Chinese goods to come into this country.
Think about that. The biggest names in the world, Louis Vuitton, Fendi, even new rising stars hoping for their big break, were all relying on shipments that, according to this bombshell report, never arrived. Kelly's claiming this wasn't bad luck. This was intentional. And the craziest part? Nobody saw it coming. No warning, no leaks, just silence.
But Bessent says the consensus as the U.S. met with China over the weekend was that we will reach a fuller trade agreement that, quote, neither side wants a decoupling.
Followed by mayhem. And now the very people who thought they had everything under control are the ones begging for answers. The people who ran the show just got outplayed by the people they thought worked for them. Let's break this all down. Because once you understand how deep this goes, you'll never look at Fashion Week, or fashion, in general, the same way again. Let's not sugarcoat this. Megyn Kelly didn't say this was a misunderstanding. She said it looked like an inside job. She's claiming this was a coordinated effort, years in the making, by major Chinese manufacturers who finally decided to show the industry who really calls the shots.
It's like it had to happen. The markets were just too bad, the bond market in particular.
According to Kelly's sources, tensions had been brewing under the surface for a long time. Designers weren't paying on time. Contracts were allegedly lopsided. Brands were demanding miracles, faster production, lower prices, tighter deadlines, with zero accountability. And over time, that pressure built up, quietly, until finally, the manufacturers snapped. So when Fashion Week came around, the moment when the entire industry's spotlight hits New York, they allegedly hit back.
These are pieces of artwork. These artisans train years and years to make one of these bags.
Fabrice is doing the last stitching on a Kelly bag. A Kelly takes around 13 hours to be made, depending on the materials that we make it. Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag.
Wilhelma says, made in China, does it feel cheaper? No, that's not a quality issue. It's luxury brand washing.
Hermes, you guys, it's time to show off your factories. No, I don't want to wait to go on YouTube and watch a beautiful documentary on show them off right here on TikTok. Let the world see. Okay, get like China. You got to be ghetto about it. Just let people know.
Kelly claims shipments were withheld on purpose, not due to weather, not due to logistics, but as a power move. And the impact was immediate. Some designers never received their collections. Others got fragments, unfinished pieces, the wrong fabrics, or empty boxes. There were rumors that certain factories just stopped replying to emails, as if to say, you made us invisible for years. Now it's your turn.
It starts with 30 distinct cuts of leather and can take 20 hours to complete, 4 hours for just the handle. Put the finishing touches on a Kelly, the most difficult bag to build. Artisans rely on their training and muscle memory to make every bag.
This is why this bag from our factory only costs you 1,000 USD.
Have you all seen that TikTok by the Chinese guy exposing how luxury goods are actually made? The only real difference? China ships the products to Europe, slaps on a made in France or made in Italy label, and boom, luxury? It's ridiculous.
And I think that's the scariest part. This wasn't just about business. This was about control. And this message was clear. You may run the show, but we build the runway. But that was just the opening act. Now, let's zoom out. This didn't happen in a vacuum. This happened because fashion, especially American fashion, let it happen. For decades, brands have prioritized cheap labor and fast turnarounds over security. over ethics, over resilience.
This Himalaya Vuitton from boutique cost you $66,000. But do you know what the real cost from our factory? Let me show you the numbers. First, the leather. This Himalaya footband leather is supplied by the company HCP from front. And one piece of this Himalaya leather costs $1,300. One for the front, one for the back, and another one on the two sides. So 3 pieces is $3,900. Interior lining is imported lambskin, and the cost is about $200. Also, exactly the same thread. 25 hardware is set with diamonds, $700. Coating oil, the cost is $30, and the zipper $350. And at last, so the cost for this 30-year experienced artisan's labor and skills is $700. Same material from the same supplier for those boutique bags by our factory is $6,000.
Everything. From your $10 t-shirt to a $10,000 couture dress, chances are parts of it came from China, fabrics, buttons, zippers, entire garments, because it's faster and cheaper and more convenient. But Megyn Kelly's report lays it bare, that convenience comes at a massive cost. Because when you put all your eggs in one basket, all it takes is one hand to flip it over. The industry got lazy. They stopped diversifying their supply chains. They forgot the golden rule of luxury. Control is everything. And now, they're paying for it. In money, in reputation, in global humiliation. What happens when the factories go dark? When customs holds back your showstoppers? When the people you thought were just suppliers reveal they're actually the gatekeepers? I think this was the industry's wake-up call. Because if you don't own your supply chain, you don't own your brand. Period. And the ones who suffered first? The ones without deep pockets or big backup plans. Let's talk about the human cost. The big fashion houses might survive a scandal, but for smaller designers, especially first-timers at NYFW, this was career-ending. Imagine you're a young designer. You've spent 2 years creating a collection. You borrowed money, you begged friends to help, you skipped rent, you poured everything you had into getting your line ready for Fashion Week. And then, 2 days before your show, nothing arrives. No dresses, no shoes, no samples, nothing. Some designers allegedly tried to recreate entire collections overnight. They hired local seamstresses. They bought fabric from dollar stores. They stayed up for 48 hours straight, praying they could salvage something. Others just canceled. Or worse, they showed up with half-finished looks, praying the audience wouldn't notice. But they noticed. I think some of these designers will never recover from this. Not just financially, emotionally. Because Fashion Week isn't just a party, it's a launch pad. And when your big moment gets yanked away from you, that's more than a loss. That's a dream ripped out of your hands. And make no mistake, the financial fallout didn't stop backstage. Now this is where things start getting really dark, because it wasn't just designers scrambling. The money started pulling out too. Fast. According to industry whispers, the moment rumors of shipment sabotage started spreading, sponsors panicked. Big ones. Beauty brands, tech collabs, even alcohol labels that had booths and branded lounges ready to go. Some of them allegedly ghosted overnight, literally canceled their Fashion Week contracts with no explanation. But can you blame them? When the shows start falling apart and the media starts sniffing around, no brand wants their logo next to the mess. It's bad optics. Period. And investors, even worse. Megyn Kelly hinted that a few multi-million-dollar deals were frozen in arse, placed the second NYFW's reliability came into question. One luxury brand was reportedly just days away from signing a major retail expansion. Pulled. Another designer was being courted by a high-end department store. Deal fell through. I think the people funding fashion realized something nobody had dared say out loud. This whole ecosystem is way more fragile than they thought. And when the money leaves, everything else collapses with it. But what if I told you that collapse wasn't just a side effect? It might have been the goal. This is where the conspiracy theories start sounding a little less crazy. Because according to leaked posts from fashion insiders and sourcing agents, this wasn't just a random disruption. This looked like a coordinated protest, a silent strike from inside the system. Multiple sources claimed that certain Chinese manufacturers banded together and agreed to withhold shipments until certain contract changes were made. Higher rates, faster approvals, fewer penalties. They wanted leverage, and they used Fashion Week to get it. One unverified message board post even claimed this was planned months ago, that factories knew exactly when to pull out, who to target, and how to cause maximum embarrassment without triggering legal blowback. If true, that's terrifying. I think this wasn't about hurting fashion. It was about reminding fashion who actually runs it. The manufacturers, the people in the background, the ones no one thanks in the speeches. And while some may say that's an overreaction, let's be honest. When you're treated like a machine for years, sometimes you break down on purpose. But while the top-tier brands tried to damage control, the newcomers were already drowning. This was supposed to be their moment, their big debut, the place where their work finally got seen by the right editor, the right buyer, the right celebrity stylist. Instead, it was carnage. Smaller designers, ones who'd never shown before, were hit hardest. They didn't have backup inventory. They didn't have international warehouses or emergency stylists on call. Some were working out of tiny apartments with 3 interns and a prayer, and then the calls started. Your pieces are still in Guangzhou? Customs flagged your box. No update on tracking. Maybe next week. I think it was soul-crushing. Some of them had already spent $30,000 just to get a slot in a group show. Flights, fittings, PR agencies, invites. All of it, gone. And when you're new in this space, you don't get second chances. If your debut flops, people don't ask why. They just move on. It's cruel. It's brutal. But that's fashion. And the worst part? The people who could have helped, the icons, the institutions, they were too busy trying to save themselves. But that's where the tide began to turn. This wasn't just some behind-the-scenes drama. This was the kind of event that made legends pick up the phone. Anna Wintour, Kim Kardashian, Marc Jacobs, Donatella Versace. Rumors started flying that all of them were livid, not just frustrated, not just annoyed, but flat-out furious. And it wasn't because their personal events were ruined. It was because New York Fashion Week, the crown jewel of American fashion, was becoming a joke. Think about it. Anna Wintour has spent decades building this machine. She didn't just protect NYFW, she weaponized it, elevated it. She turned it into a global standard, and now she was watching that empire burn in real time, allegedly because of unchecked outsourcing and production deals that left them completely exposed. Kim Kardashian, who's built an entire fashion tech hybrid empire, was allegedly also disturbed. Word is, she pulled her team into emergency meetings about what this means for Skims' supply chain. And when Kim panics, you know something big just broke. And let's not forget Marc Jacobs. His name alone brings weight. Insiders say he allegedly called the situation humiliating, a black mark on the legacy of American fashion. But Megyn Kelly went even further. She hinted that Anna Wintour wasn't just angry, she was taking action. Behind the scenes, Wintour was allegedly laying the groundwork to overhaul NYFW's production model from the ground up. But she didn't stop there. Wintour, according to multiple reports, decided it was time to go nuclear. This is the part where the gloves came off. According to multiple insider reports and legal rumors floating around the fashion circuit, Anna Wintour and IMG, the global powerhouse that owns NYFW, allegedly filed formal legal action against the manufacturers they believe were involved. The charge? Deliberate interference with a high-profile international event. In simpler terms, sabotage. This wasn't a petty cease and desist letter. These were serious documents, reportedly packed, with internal communications, shipment manifests, delayed timelines, and missing contract fulfillments. The kind of receipts that make courtroom jaws drop. And if this lawsuit goes public, it's going to be a disaster for the brands caught in the crossfire, because if you think the luxury world is clean and polished, think again. Behind the glam is a brutal game of power, contracts, and leverage. Megyn Kelly made it clear this wasn't just about punishing bad behavior. This was about sending a message that no one, not even the manufacturers, gets to bring NYFW to its knees without consequences. I think this lawsuit, if it unfolds the way she described, will expose decades of hidden dealings, private emails, NDA-protected conversations, silent coercion. But even as the lawsuits got filed, the fashion giants were already plotting their escape. While everyone was watching the legal circus unfold, the real players were already making their move. Behind closed doors, luxury brands began quietly shifting production away from China. No press releases, no public statements, just silent exits. Factories in Vietnam were suddenly getting flooded with inquiries. Portuguese textile mills, the ones known for quality and speed, started signing new NDAs. Even American-based artisan workshops began seeing serious offers for capsule collections. And you know what that tells me? The brands aren't just reacting. They're planning for a post-China fashion economy. They finally realized being dependent on one place for your entire brand identity, that's a recipe for collapse. Sure, the costs might go up, but you know what's worse than higher prices? Not having a product at all. I think this shift is going to be one of the biggest restructuring moments in fashion since the rise of fast fashion. And while some brands will resist it, the smart ones, they've already moved. And if the designers were this shaken, imagine the retailers trying to make sense of what just happened. Here's something no one is talking about. Fashion Week isn't just about buzz and influencers. It's a business pipeline. Retail buyers from stores like Saks, Nordstrom, Net-a-Porter, and dozens of boutique platforms rely on what they see at NYFW to decide what they'll stock 6 months from now. But this year, the collections were incomplete. Showrooms were empty. Some brands didn't even show. So how are retailers supposed to place orders? How do they build seasonal calendars when there's no reliable launch to track from? According to internal reports, some retailers are pushing back their fall schedules by weeks, maybe even months. Prices are being reevaluated. Delivery windows are sliding. And customers, they're going to start noticing gaps. I think this ripple effect is just getting started. Because when NYFW falters, the entire fashion ecosystem, from production to point of sale, takes a hit. And that hit wasn't invisible to consumers. Consumers aren't stupid, especially not in the TikTok era. The moment influencers started canceling shows or uploading cryptic, "You won't believe what's happening at NYFW" posts, fans knew something was wrong. And then the silence came. No press briefings, no apologies, no explanations, just glossy photos from shows that didn't happen. Designers going dark, editors pretending everything was normal, but thanks to Megyn Kelly's report, that curtain got ripped down. Fast. Suddenly, fashion fans were asking real questions. Why are my favorite brands suddenly quiet? Why did my pre-order get delayed? Who actually makes these clothes? And those questions turned into pressure. Consumers are now demanding transparency in ways the industry's never dealt with before. And here's the kicker. They're not just asking what, they're asking who. They want names, countries, supply chains, ethics reports. I think the fashion world is about to realize that the new luxury isn't just style, it's clarity. And if they don't deliver it, there are whispers that the chaos we just saw might only be phase 1. In the closing moments of her report, Megyn Kelly dropped what might be the scariest part of all. She said her sources told her this wasn't a one-time disruption. It wasn't a warning shot. It was a preview. According to her, Chinese manufacturers, and possibly other players in the luxury ecosystem, are allegedly considering more moves. Bigger ones. Not just Fashion Week, but Met Gala shipments, red carpet wardrobes, even high-end collaborations between luxury brands and tech giants. She hinted that this may be part of a broader strategy to remind the West who controls the manufacturing flow. And whether that's true or not, I think the threat alone is enough to shift boardroom priorities. Because if New York Fashion Week, one of the most polished, controlled, and anticipated events in the world, can be taken down this easily, nothing is safe. And that's exactly why the industry is being forced to face a terrifying truth. People are saying it quietly now, but soon, they'll be saying it loud. New York Fashion Week, the live version, the chaotic runway-packed, influencer-filled, industry-standard Fashion Week, might be finished. Designers are already pulling back, whispering about skipping the next cycle, trying new platforms, planning private viewings. The truth is, the format is fragile. Too many moving parts, too much dependency, too much vulnerability. And now, with the rise of digital showcases, 3D runway tech, and even AI-generated fashion lines, people are wondering, why even bother with the old system? Megyn Kelly's expose didn't just reveal a scandal, it exposed a shift, a seismic one. I think NYFW as we know it is over. And maybe that's okay, because out of this mess, something better, stronger, might finally be built. But now, one thing's for sure, the illusion of control, gone. The industry was cracked open, and the ones who survive will be the ones who adapt fast. Megyn Kelly's expose didn't just uncover a scandal, it exposed a system held together by duct tape and wishful thinking. Fashion Week was supposed to be untouchable, a pillar of glamour, innovation, and art. But now, it's just another empire built on outsourced labor and blind trust. And once that trust breaks, there's no going back. I think the brands that survive, this won't be the ones with the most money, they'll be the ones who adapt, who listen, who take back control. Because if Fashion Week can fall, what's safe anymore?